Hello and welcome to VFitter University. In this channel, we are discussing the applications of AI simulations in science and technology. And we are now with Dr. Priyanka Mathur. And it's a great opportunity to be here in this call with you. And please introduce yourself and we can go from there. Thank you so much.
Sure. Thanks for having me. So my name is Dr. Priyanka, and I'm a trained physician with international healthcare experience working in a few different countries, India, Russia, and United States. And I came to United States to do my fellowship in cardiology, and that's where I landed in Los Angeles, the valley. And there's always these buzzwords on AI and health that made me really interested how we can integrate this new technology, this AI into healthcare and make healthcare seamless and more accessible to people around the world, in the areas and all that. So that was the starting of my journey into this integration of AI in healthcare.
Perfect. That's awesome. So just to let you know a little bit about what we do. So at VFitter University, we're like a wisdom base that full of reports that are generated using AI simulators. Now, if you think about ChatGPT, is a simulation of chat, of a conversation that we interact with artificial intelligence. But artificial intelligence and machine learning, they are awesome in their original task of simulation. And we're using it to basically test the existing knowledge that exists in companies. We bet there are huge applications that we could explore and integrate with data that companies have. So what do you think about this whole concept?
No, it's amazing. AI is like that good student that if you teach, it learns faster and it learns better. But there has to be a teacher, which is, the inputting the data and all that. So, I have a lot of potential of AI in healthcare and similarly in other verticals. And what you're doing as a part of a wisdom, I think it's important, right? Because the right knowledge is always difficult to get, or the right resources to get the information is always difficult.
Exactly. That's so important. And with AI now, it's interesting that we could do all these simulations with the least cost and effort needed, right? With using just a micro-calculated parameters, we could just set, for example, let's say, do this, then use this database. Do not be a super professional. You want to make it clear because you're interacting with patients, for example, and basically do a bunch of simulations that are very crucial in decision making, right? And back in the day, we used to do that in lab, and Mark Zuckerberg and his wife were exploring in biohubs that they could do now 100 simulations in a day instead of one lab that would take them 1 year. So the apps are really limitless, and we think it has to have a very great constitutional system on top of the AI for us to gather as much information and as accurate as possible. Yeah. Are you currently working in your own business? Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes. So I'm more practicing as a clinician because I feel like they're much, much knowledgeable and, better need to treat the patients clinically. We want healthcare providers, doctors to join hands with technology, because I feel like if you're making a healthcare product, a health tech product, right?
Sure.
It will be serving patients. It cannot be pure technology. It needs to be a first-hand understanding of how the patient-doctor relationship works, and that you can't learn by just sitting on a computer and coding it. That comes with the years of, patients. So that being said, as do this with technology with MediPocket. So how MediPocket was started, which with a very simple idea, having healthcare in your pocket. Now there's various use case for that, but healthcare can go with you where you are going, right? It's with you. So that was the idea behind, and we started MediPocket on a prescription vertical where we did the price transparency, accessibility, and affordability on prescription vertical. And then we added a cross-border care to that, which is connecting international patients to the hospitals and experts in United States, because a lot of patients, when suffering from a life-threatening medical condition, they all get access to the best in the world, which we know. Mayo Clinic, when it comes to cancer, three institute of mine, MSKCC, MD Anderson, Mayo Clinic, and such. So most patients around the world have a desire, but accessibility is the number one biggest issue. Second is affordability. And how with using technology, we can address both of these. And that's where the MediPocket is coming, bridging this gap of accessibility and affordability using technology, and AI plays quite an important role in order to make it cost effective.
This is beautiful. Like we are aligning and science, and I feel like we have to kind of like the way you said right now, AI is interacting with patients. That means you guys are using some sort of simulation in order to with the patients and doctors. Is that true?
Yeah. So, I would say one thing, like in a simulation, go to a doctor. There's a history taking thing. Doctors don't, there are three elements when how the diagnosis or how a doctor comes to a diagnosis. One is your history taking, what the questions the doctor is currently asking based on your current symptoms. The other is the past, your medical data, your medical records. And then the third is a physical examination. So these are the three components. They are not equal in the ratio, but these are the three components that are used in order for a doctor to come a diagnosis.
True.
What we are doing, we are simulation this doctor-patient relationship of history taking. So we take care of the two parts, which is taking the history with this communicative generative AI, right? Asking a question, and you give the answer, and then the follow-up question will be based on the answer given. So it won't be like a kind of a pre-form, but it's based on what the answer comes, the next question would be coming. And that is how the doctors in the real life do when they interact with the patient. And then the other component is the medical data. So this AI also has this medical data, medical records of so the questions will be based on those information, the record. So it won't be a random question or a standard question. They will be personalized question based on your records that this system would be asking you.
Interesting. This is really great. And I'm right now, it's basically, I want to show you like how we can explore like the integration of your company, and basically our mission is basically the same. We want to use these simulations and optimize them using customized data in order to offer the best experience that users can possibly experience. And so what do you think, how many other simulations could we do for the actual and in their processes, or even customer facing, client facing, and for patients?
They're endless, to be honest, because healthcare is like, there's aspects how the healthcare, when I mean to say the doctor and a patient relationship work, patient and a pharmacy relationship works, which is the drug, right? That relationship work. There's a relationship how the patient and the payer system work. So there's so many pillars in a healthcare system. Keeping the patient at its heart, I would say you can think about the other three pillars around it and how the simulation can be done. Talking about one more use case could be, the medications. Medications is all about like, you chronic condition, then you would be taking a medication daily or based on your dosage. Now medications are always 3 months after that you need to get evaluated so that the dosage can be adjusted, continue the same or adjusted how it based on your the labs and stuff like that. So AI, like the simulation, can be used where this evaluating the patient on the current dosage can be done based on, okay, this 3 month for your parameters, how those parameters, and again, every disease have their own parameters, how those parameters performed. Did they do good? Then obviously you're like, okay, go down in the dosage, or the calculation of dosage can be done. Another thing to keep in mind, like, okay, you did for us for these parameters, but coming forward is your age, right? The age is another important factor. They cannot calculate. So like a lot of that can be calculated, which in physical world or in the real doctor patient setting we do can be simulated, because to be honest, not every time doctor needs to touch you in order to diagnose. A lot of information is there in your medical record or in the conversation that the doctor patient does. So again, that's another use case of in medication.
This is interesting. So to be honest with you, I was thinking the application of a wisdom base in recording and preserving the patient documentation based on those simulation. This is basically what we offer. We believe that you as like a core organization not really capable of getting the confidential information from the businesses. So each company kind of needs a university, a wisdom base, a core of information that you store that you could teach your future workforce on. And we realized that really grades are enough. I mean, in medical branches, you probably know this better, but like theoretical is not practical. And you need a lot of expertise in medical fields to kind of get it, and value of that in every business. And we want to make a wisdom base where brands could focus on their return on learning and have a whole budget for actually training their future workforce, which helps them scale faster and basically move exponentially. So what do you think about the education system kind of moving towards this way as opposed to a university as a single organization?
That's actually interesting. And definitely there are a lot of things that are kind of a repetitive task, right? When you join an organization, when I'm talking about, let's say, a hospital system, they all have their own protocols. The things have to be trained to the new, members joining, new employees. And now, when we're talking about a medical knowledge, how the simulation would work, training a new doctors, that's a little different, area, I would say. But the one about training the new employees based on the preset kind of criterias, there definitely AI can do the work about not just training them, but keeping a kind of a track that are they following the information, or following the procedures, they're following so what all that right thing. So that could be one. And most of the organization, there's kind of like a rating and grading system that, hey, you were profit, but the 10% that you missed was the critical one. So the errors are always, some could be a minor error, some could be a critical error. So something like that currently in most of the organizations, it is done by humans. With the AI simulation, this could be one. If we are talking about the wisdom base. Training a new doctor is a bit different, because training someone completely on an AI simulation as a doctor, that happened in the COVID time, when this closed, that is a little bit challenging. But yes, adding AI to that, it definitely would make it efficient.
The focus make things practical and like usable, very fast use, because right now, because of the technology, everything is becoming more like going towards being practical. And we think that like human memory is limited, right? So we can't really memorize everything and expect to like have it there unless we are using it over and over again. So for example, like if I don't remember much of the history from my childhood, but I have like a glimpse of the things that I used for my, for example, own country, and they're being discussed over and over again. So we believe that the practical knowledge should be practiced even more, right? And when it's documented somewhere as something that is really like practical or theoretical, and it's categorized practical, it would be perfect, like it would fast to use by everybody in the company and sent to each other. Even that could be really, like in my industry, would be really just a bunch of software that you have to use for a specific pipeline. That's a practical knowledge. What to press to do, because like software, and it has a learning curve. We don't really want to teach the entire software to the workforce if we want them to only use it for that one simple like task. With that, now thanks to AI, we could create these micro software, which is basically like AI simulators. It's just a different name. That could be two different sources and do what we expect them to do. And it's not really like a one giant software that with a learning curve that everybody needs to learn. It's very practical, very on point. It could be automating things. It could be like a chatbot, or it could be like a simulation, which is using the data that we currently have and some data that actually feed it using the actual experimentations. So what I was thinking right now, imagine this AI, like whole scenario, AI integrating with medical world, is taking an optimistic route and a pessimistic route. Like how would you see it positively impact the world? Like if we dig more like medical industries, how do you see it when it goes like in a negative side? How do you see the both basically?
So, I think it's like the competition. There's two things in a competition, right? There's a healthy competition, and then there's not an healthy competition.
True.
Right now, there's a competition going in the world when it comes to healthcare. Every big giants or every big, like who can do or who can do bigger, right? Now, this race is good, but when it comes to healthcare, we are treating real humans, right? You cannot be too fast in bringing things like this unless you have checkpointed things about the safety, right? Again, it's not the error that, oh, the machine will stop working. No, here the human will stop working,
True.
right?
That's
So
facts.
that's where I feel it's going in a good direction. There's a lot of potential of AI being used both for the patient, the doctors, the system, whole system itself. It's going to be positive impact. But the negativity that I see is the race that is happening right now, and everybody's trying to bring a bigger thing, and they are leaving the safety part sometimes not very carefully done.
Exactly.
And that is not in healthcare, that's the most important thing, right? Because we are treating, again, as I
Definitely.
talked, we are treating humans here. And that's where my fear is, that the speed that the things are getting developed, especially in healthcare, the integration, we are missing the crucial points.
That's exactly what it is. And like moving on mode, if you think about it, like when it we are these systems to become more autonomous and make decisions themselves, that comes into like a very important place that we have to decide how autonomous do we want these agents, because they can literally do everything, like write a code, person, even talk to them, have a whole collected data as like a conversation mode, basically offer it to do examples and operations on top of it. So how autonomous do you think we should leave these monsters to actually help us,
Yeah.
right? Like good monsters. Yeah.
That's the problem. See, you can tame an elephant, right? But if the elephant goes sideways, whatever happens, that can crush you. And this is
Exactly.
what the giant we are right now taming, I would call the word. We are trying to tame it, train it, and tame it, that, hey, you will always obey me because I created you. But if we do not put the right boundaries, again, the technical terms, the brakes can go on, if it's fully autonomous. And then it would be, I would say, at least from the standpoint from a healthcare, it will be devastating. Because, again, machine treating a human. Machine
Yes.
treats machine, you're good. Treat a bug, that's fine. But a human has to be treated by a human. What I mean by that, there has to be a physical human doctor working with an AI and making it effective and efficient.
Definitely.
But it cannot be, okay, a robot is just going to do the surgery, and there's no surgeon sitting and observing or following that. That shouldn't be the
Exactly.
thing.
That should not be. Um, although I eventually we could bring the safety risk to like almost zero, that we can trust a robot by itself. But you're right. Like systems can always have bugs and issues, and sometimes they're in beta mode. They do mistakes. Sometimes they're in live mode. Like they're actually in the forefront of the market, and they still do mistakes. So unless we bring that mistake to zero, it's not worth it to replace a doctor with it. And I absolutely agree with that. And as you can, like, these AI machines are controlled parameters right now, and we can now do it with words, with simple NLP, neuro-linguistic understanding. And when we put words as like parameters, we're kind of coding, like conditioning and coding. So we add parameters on top of each other, and we apply some sort of priority for these rules over each other. Then sometimes we have to merge two rules together with like an and, like if this or if that happened, do that, right? And it becomes actually very complex programming, right? That now possible with human words. Back in the day, only developers could do that. And this funny thing that I want to say, but feel like my respect for religion went very high, realizing that whole religion is actually like a bunch of stacked up for human to have good relationship with themselves, with God, and then like to your family, then expanding from there. Like for example, if you read into the book, into the Torah, there are like basically 613 mitzvot is called basically the law, and it really starts from the laws of your own self, like communicating with your own body, your own soul, and then your family, then expanding to your society. And I realized these laws are so practical, like compared to some scientists are now exploring, like counting the stars and stuff. These are the practical sciences that could be used by us. And if you think about science inwards, they start from like us, right? Now, we can explore all the universe that is outwards, or we could explore all the cells, all the behavior of those, and really make it in a way that we could use it later, right? So how do you think about practical science in general, and basically religion being, because it's really just rules that like even governments don't restrict, right? So like for example, let's say religion tells you not look at your mom in a sexual way, not look at your sister in a way, but like back in the day, history proved to us that humans do that because of psychological issues and all the problems that they from their genes, from their mothers, fathers, and all these issues. They are them in form of evil character, but is it really evil? Like Christianity, we say we're all of God, and He loves us all, right? So it's like we want to know that, is this like, because there's no evil, it's only like good or mental health, or mentally ill. And those people that are mentally ill and choose good over bad, they're just like, they have to, they shouldn't be a leader. Like for example, let's say Hitler, because then they do corruption. They believe in chaos. They don't believe in order. So what do you think about this whole practical concept and religion being one of the most practical things that human can learn?
Yeah, I mean, I get religion. Some may call it spirituality, but the bottom line is, as you said, the creation. Science is a creation, right? And that started with humans, with us. Even if you talk about AI, what is actually AI? Artificial intelligence. But the real intelligence is that thing started with humans, right? Or at least living beings, right? I mean, even the level of intelligence. So intelligence started with living being. Artificial intelligence, the science was created from this natural phenomena. Even if you go deep, what is this like your when we like deep learning? I mean, it is doing a copying what the brain is designed the way, and that is how they're making this neural links and all that. So that being said, I feel like yes, science is very related to the existence of a creation, natural creation, and us, we are created by God. Now, every religion, we follow, or the other form, we follow God, right?
True.
And I do believe spirituality, religion gives you set rules to follow. And rules are important in life. Otherwise, there'll be chaos, right? The rules are what laws which the government makes. The rules what the religion make, like, any to do, what not to do, what to eat, what not to eat. Like, as I don't eat beef. Some religion do. You respect that religion. You respect this religion. But that being said, the religion teaches you to follow some things. And that is, I think, what it teaches you, discipline and follow, right? Yes, you can question as much as you can, but at the same time, you need to believe, right? And that is where I think it teaches us. Similarly, what the implication that you're saying with AI, now AI is again a machine, right? We can give them rules to follow, but it's still a machine. It can, see, as a human, why we are afraid to break the laws or the rules? Because there are consequences. Right? Either a professional as a doctor, we make mistakes. We can make errors. We are not, that, okay, we make mistakes. But there's a level of fear. We make mistake, there's a consequences, losing a license, losing this, losing that, right? For machine, what is the consequence? Getting shut down? They don't care. The machine doesn't care. That is where the thing, where is that feeling of losing something? How would you put that in the machine? That fear of losing family and profession. And that's where I feel like the danger is. Humans have a fear of losing something. Machines don't.
That is very powerful that you said because I'm going to bring up the fact that, let's say we have those laws that you just said we need to follow because otherwise there would be a consequence. In Christianity, we believe that Jesus Christ was the practical role model, like the practical example of the law, which was Torah, Old Testament. And he became a sacrificing role model for all human beings to follow. Now we believe that as parents, for example, we believe that sacrificing ourselves for kids, it's a good thing. It's not a bad thing, like how evil sacrificed kids before. We believe that sacrifice could be used for love, which is one of the most strong forces in the universe. And we believe that Jesus Christ actually implemented those laws in a way. It's not because of the fear of the consequence, it's because of the influence of love, you know. And example, I said all that because I can come to this conclusion that thanks to Jesus, now I could tell an AI to act like Jesus. Does that make sense? And do whatever you possibly said. Interesting. Did that just give you like a paradigm shift?
It's kind of an interesting one, yeah.
It's very interesting because in the Bible it says God created and the Word was God, right? So the example, the whole role model is now very ingested in one word, Jesus. And we could just simply use that in AI programming. And the day I realized that, I'm like, whoa, we just made all the ethical issues, we can fix it. Because we can just say a name and like, then that's of constitutional parameters that we need to do. And everything else could be on top of that. Now, this is very like controversial because like not everyone agrees with Jesus, but it's interesting that when you ask them what is the alternative, it cannot be in one word, and like it cannot really that person that you can compare to Jesus, because he was literally the best human alive. He was the best character in the game. And if you think about all this, like all of us having this order as like organisms, that we're from Big Bang, that's kind of like you believe in one miracle as an atheist, that for example we came from an explosion rather than God creating us. You know, that's such a like for example, a game designer. I used to design games too, and I know that okay, so if I were to try and see a game, I would become a character. And in our case, God became a character, Jesus Christ, and tried the game. It says Jesus felt your feelings, right? Jesus feels the creation of himself, and that was just very interesting for me. And I really started believing in God after becoming like a developer, right? I realized I'm co-creating. I'm creating all these rules that, like the earth, us as creations, we came with pre-existing rules. Like we have constitutional parameters. We have DNA that is coded in a very specific way to even have our own bloodline, you know, like influence it. Personally, I want to know, like, what are your beliefs if you feel comfortable talking about them?
Oh, my religious belief?
Yes.
I'm a Hindu, so I consider myself a religious plus a spiritual person, in various ways. But again, every religion has its set rules that you follow by heart. I think no religion is like, you do it, die kind of a thing. Do it because, you want to follow it. So yeah, to the Hindu religion, to one, but we gave different forms to one God. And similarly, as in Christianity, we have Jesus as a son of God that came, right? Similarly, in Hinduism, we have Ram came to earth as human. He lived the human life. He dealt with all the emotions of human, which is pain and everything, right? The pain, the human, like Jesus did. He lived the life of went through this. We call him call it Purushottam Ram, which means the human God, right? So it's like, because he was, so that's, I think every religion has that correlation where they actually have shown that God did go through he created. He created us. So he created us not by just thinking, hey, I code, as a developer, right? I code you, but I don't care about you. No, he coded us and he came and lived our life in our shoes. And it's like, yes, this is why I created it, because I know you can, this is the perfect in various ways what the perfect is. So that is why
Yes.
what I believe in the religion a lot. I still is, to be honest, I agree and disagree a little bit with when it comes to technology, especially technologies like AI that has an intelligence. If we can ever make them follow the exact rules
Mm-hmm.
as we do for religion
Mm-hmm.
or we do as a human. Because again, I think what God did for us, like, like when Jesus came, he did out of the fear of love, fear of influence, of not leaving a bad influence. Like there was a
Mm-hmm.
fear, right? How can you make a machine have that fear? That I don't know how it would go to that level, but
Mm-hmm.
here everything is done with a fear either of love, but fear of something. And it is a good fear. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
saying it's a bad fear. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have to be bad always, fear of losing.
True.
But that is a human. That's not our cells in the body.
Mm-hmm.
That's not our organ. That's not our brain. That's a feeling,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's a feeling because they're not cutting our arms. They're not cutting any organ of our body. So it's a feeling. And that's
Exactly.
why it makes us a living being, right? So we
Mm-hmm.
are a living being. We are feeling. How would you put a feeling component which cannot be coded? I mean, yeah, you can put emotions. Emotions are different.
Mm.
Feelings are different, right?
Yes.
Emotions you can code.
Very
Be
interesting.
sad, be cry, be do this.
Mm.
Feeling, how can you make AI say, hey, fell in love, like fall in
Mm.
love, things like, or so that's line between emotions and feeling. Emotions can be taught or
Mm-hmm.
trained to AI. Laugh this time, cry this time.
Mm-hmm.
The feel, can AI be like, hey, you lose half of your code line if you don't do this? Like, is there what the
Definitely.
feeling of fear like that?
No, you're
But
right.
I don't know. But that is where I'm feeling that.
If you think about it, AI in general, God. So it's like in Christianity, we are saying that you are going to experience these feelings, but you still have to act like God. You still have to follow God in a sense that He's the best role model for you. So in AI, basically, like in Ten Commandments, for example, let's say the 10 general rules of Christianity is don't steal, don't lie, and see how only these two can apply to AI. If AI was autonomous, would steal, would lie, would be able to manipulate, would be able to like do those things that human can do, but in a digital world. And like just to not get emotional as much as you can, but try to empathize and understand other people's emotions in a way that you understand emotion, right? So how can we tell AI to empathize? Like surprisingly, this is easy because AI has an understanding of a large language model of texts that come from a human empathizing with another human, right? So it knows what empathizing looks like in a form of action. Might not understand the feeling or feel the pain, but he knows what to respond, like act on it. Really, in Christianity, we say talk doesn't really matter. Act is important. The act is the core element that, for example, we say Jesus acted the word. Jesus didn't just like promote the word, just say like go follow, go religious. He actually became the best version of that, like became the in the leaderboard, right? In following that all those rules one by one. And so what do you think about that? Like it actually broke into reality, like now that act of to computers really possible.
It is
Mm-hmm.
possible to a good extent. And I like, in
Mm-hmm.
my own personal belief, I
Mm-hmm.
see AI with a very big potential. But I still will look at as with a little bit of, I'm careful again, right? I mean, again, I'm putting 100 as a human, as a doctor, as a patient myself, and as a family member,
Mm-hmm.
it would be really hard for me to leave my kids with just a robot, right? I mean, let's say, no, I mean, because they would be following the commands. They will be not stealing. They will not beat your kid. They will do everything which is in the rules,
Mm-hmm.
but they do not have, again, the living being, which is sometimes far from the intellectual. Sometimes you don't have to react intellectually.
Mm-hmm.
Machines intellectual things. How would you incorporate that level of empathy, love, and feelings to that
Mm-hmm.
level? And that would be, again, maybe
Mm-hmm.
technology would go that far.
Exactly.
But for me, that would be always a little, kind of that,
It
how
is.
much can you trust as a human, as
Exactly.
a, I think these days the
Mm-hmm.
humans could be really worse than a machine. But they, when you're the really close people that you trust, right? You leave them. But could you do that with a machine, operating? Or that would be my thing. Yes, you can make it as better, but I don't think so. You can really make them intelligent wise. Yes, they can be much outsmart us easily. They can outsmart humans very easily. But can they as a human component, can they ever outsmart us? I don't think so.
Think about this. In a human component, you mean in a practical way, right? In like a way that the most, not just knowledge, actually applies, like just in a practical way. Can they do better than humans? It could be empathizing, it could be any other task. Is that what you're saying?
So physical, no, they will outsmart us in the mental and physical both. Physical easily, which is currently happening, right? They outsmart us physically easy, right? They can pass the medical exam by just 1 month, which we take 8 years to do, right? So yeah, that's obviously the physically they can do much better and faster stuff. Similarly with mentally. But what I'm talking about, the level of, see, as a human being, I don't think so. We call it human being. We are an intelligent animal, we call ourselves, when we compare it to the animals, right? We call ourselves intellectual, intelligent, social animals, right?
True.
I mean, in the world. But living being, what I'm talking about, the living being things, which is like, this apart from intelligence, apart from your physical strength, apart from that strength, that is something. How would you make an AI do that? When let's a friend, you are sad, right? Because I've been your friend, I know what point to touch, like what point I should make you start talking. I wouldn't get too in, like, this, and that is again, it's not smartness, it is humanness. And that I don't know how close an AI as a machine will get to us as a human. Hey, I know where to start the talk from as a friend.
Exactly.
No, you don't know. Like, you're just smart. You're not human. So my thing is, yeah, I'm 100% as a machine being a human kind of thing would be possible. Yes, they can be more smarter than us.
You're absolutely right. They can never be a human, but the point is act like the human right now. That will, in my opinion, we will get to a point that they would have a physical body, and they could actually like empathize with in a way that a human would need, kind of. But let's see really, like, even if you about it, human can get love from pets, right? So if that's kind of possible, if a friend of mine knows my future, if it knows like, okay, like this happened to me, that happened to me, maybe it can even offer a better advice compared to a friend because of the knowledge he has, right? So in my opinion, sometimes friends can be destructive, right? So sometimes friends bully you, tell bad things in a human way, and that's kind of bad. But thank you so much for your time. This was like a huge conversation for me. I'm very I feel more educated now, thanks to you. Do you have any final words for the audience? So
I would say the audience, which are as smart as you are, but when they are creating this AI giant, two factors that we don't only want them to become the smartest thing ever existed. They already would get there very fast. What we want to put the rules, right? These guidelines, whether follow the way that the religion taught us, or however, but that to keep in mind that you're taming a giant and you're just taming it. That giant can turn on you, and at that time you have lost the power because you have given all the power that you had to him. Now you don't have anything in the war to do more. So that would be my final thing.
Exactly. Cautious is basically preventing is then dealing with the consequences. So thank you so much for your advice, and take care. Have a great rest of the day. Bye, everyone.
You too.